We all make mistakes. Bigger ones, small ones, the kind that keep us up at night and the kind we forget about moments later. But one thing is certain, some people make bigger mistakes than others. The difference between success and catastrophe can sometimes be just a single digit. One extra keystroke and $225 million gone. One simple conversion error and a $327 million mission to Mars vanished in the air. A single decision that turned a $50 million buyout into a $200 billion empire. And the company that invented the digital camera yet refused to believe in it. History is full of mistakes. Some are forgotten, others cost billions. And these are the most expensive mistakes in history. The date is September 23rd, 1999. NASA's Mars Climate Orbiter, designed to study Martian weather, is minutes away from entering orbit. Years of work, $327 million, and the hopes of scientists across the world hinge on this moment. At exactly 9:06 in the morning, the orbiter fires its engines. It should be slipping into orbit. Instead, the control room lost contact. In an instant, $327 million burned up in the Martian sky. But how? NASA launches an investigation, and it doesn't take long to find the culprit. It's not sabotage, not a glitch, just maths. NASA's engineers were using metric units, but Lockheed Martin, the contractor that built the spacecraft, used imperial units. No one converted the numbers. This $327 million spacecraft was lost because of a unit conversion error. The story made headlines worldwide, and NASA had to face the media, the government, and the public. How would you explain losing millions over a math mistake? From then on, unit conversion checks became mandatory across NASA, but for the Mars Climate Orbiter, it was too late. A tiny oversight turned a groundbreaking mission into a cautionary tale. And this wasn't the first time a small mistake had massive consequences, because just a year later, another company made an even bigger mistake. And this time it wasn't a space probe, it was a $200 billion business opportunity. At the turn of the millennium, Blockbuster was the undisputed king of home entertainment. 9,000 stores, billions in revenue, and if you wanted to watch a movie, this was your only option. But in this boardroom, a $50 million decision is about to be made. One that will change the future of entertainment forever. Netflix was a struggling startup. The dot-com bubble had just burst. They were bleeding money. Their pitch was simple. Blockbuster could buy them out for $50 million and integrate their DVD by-mail service into Blockbuster's empire. But Blockbuster didn't take them seriously. To them, Netflix was a niche idea. I mean, mailing DVDs? Come on. Rejected but undeterred, Netflix went back to work. And they didn't just survive, they started to outsmart Blockbuster. Netflix introduced a subscription model, unlimited rentals, no late fees. Meanwhile, Blockbuster stuck to its old ways, relying on brick-and-mortar stores and late fees to bring in the cash. Blockbuster finally saw the writing on the wall. They launched Blockbuster Online to compete with Netflix, but then, in a move that would seal their fate, they eliminated late fees, one of their biggest revenue streams. It was a disaster. The company lost $200 million in revenue, and the online services never gained traction. Meanwhile, Netflix was already moving on to something even bigger. Netflix introduced streaming video, allowing customers to watch movies instantly. Blockbuster, who was still focused on DVD rentals, didn't react fast enough. By the time Blockbuster realised what was happening, it was already too late. They had the chance to buy Netflix for $50 million. Today, Netflix is worth over $200 billion, and Blockbuster, a distant memory. A single missed opportunity, and an empire collapsed. But Blockbuster wasn't the only company to make a billion-dollar mistake, because just a few years earlier, another media giant made a deal so bad it shattered Wall Street. It was the biggest corporate merger in history, a $165 billion deal to combine old-school media with new internet power. AOL had the users, Time Warner had the content, and together they were supposed to dominate the digital future. At its peak, half of all US internet users were on AOL. It was the face of the internet, growing at record speed. There was just one problem. The dot-com bubble was about to burst. In early 2000, AOL's stock was sky high, but by late 2001, it was crashing. The company had built up its empire on dial-up internet, and broadband was taken over. Investors panicked. Time Warner had merged with a sinking ship. In 2002, they posted a $99 billion loss, the largest in US corporate history. In just 2 years, the combined company had lost nearly $200 billion in value. Beyond the financial disaster, the companies hated working together. AOL's fast-moving internet culture clashed with Time Warner's old-school media executives. They just quite simply couldn't work together. By 2009, Time Warner gave up. AOL was spun off as a separate company, just a fraction of what it once was. Ironically, the real future of media wasn't AOL or Time Warner. It was streaming services like Netflix and YouTube. AOL's vision came true, just it didn't need them. AOL Time Warner was supposed to be the future. Instead, it became a warning. But this wasn't the only multi-billion-dollar mistake, because in 2005, a single typo lost a Japanese bank $225 million in minutes. The stock market moves fast. 1 second can mean millions, but on December 8th, 2005, A single keystroke sent $225 million vanishing in minutes. A broker at Mizuho Securities, one of Japan's biggest banks, was making what should have been a routine trade. But instead of selling one share at 610,000 yen, they accidentally sold 610,000 shares at 1 yen each. The order was instantly accepted, despite being 40 times more shares than even existed. The system should have caught it, cancelled it, anything, but the Tokyo Stock Exchange software didn't allow cancellations for that kind of mistake. By the time Mizuho realised what had happened, it was too late. Millions had already been lost. In a matter of minutes, the bank had lost $225 million, one of the biggest trading blunders in history, all because of a single extra zero. Mizuho sued the Tokyo Stock Exchange, claiming their system should have stopped the trade. Years later, they won $100 million in damages, but still took a massive loss. In the world of finance, precision is everything. A single typo erased millions in minutes. But this wasn't the first time someone failed to see the future, because decades earlier, a billion-dollar company created world-changing technology, then ignored it. In 1975, a Kodak engineer built something revolutionary, the world's first digital camera, a device that could capture photos without film. It should have changed everything. Kodak had invented the future, but instead of embracing it, they buried it. You see, Kodak wasn't just a photography company, they were the photography company. Their entire empire was built on selling film, and digital threatened that. So instead of embracing this new tech, they buried it, they patented it, and then they shelved it. But you see, other companies weren't afraid of digital. Sony, Canon, and Nikon all jumped in, but by the 1990s, digital cameras were everywhere. Kodak finally realised their mistake. They scrambled to release their own digital camera, but it was too late. Then came the iPhone, the final nail in Kodak's coffin. Suddenly, everyone had a camera in their own back pocket. At its peak, Kodak was worth $30 billion, but in 2012 they went bankrupt, all because they refused to believe in their own invention. Kodak didn't just miss an opportunity, they invented the future and ignored it. But they weren't the only company to make a billion-dollar mistake. Some mistakes cost millions, others cost empires. But the scary thing, most of them didn't feel like mistakes when they were made. They felt like ordinary moments, harmless choices, a missed email, a shrug in the boardroom, a number typed slightly wrong. We like to think history is made by bold decisions and breakthroughs, but sometimes it's made by what we don't do. A keystroke, a measurement, a moment of hesitation. Right now, somewhere in the world, another billion-dollar mistake is unfolding, quietly and unnoticed. Because that's the thing about history's biggest failures. You don't always see them coming. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.